Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for part 4 of a 14-part series as we travel through Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. This video is over chapters 5 and 6. So let's jump into it. In chapter 5, we're introduced to the Order of the Phoenix, and Harry and friends are privy to a little bit of the conversation where we get zero information anyhow. So it doesn't really matter that they were there. Chapter 6, we kill magic cockroaches and get to meet a house elf. That's it. That's what happens. That's all 40 pages. And here we go. The walk-in quote of the week actually comes to us from page 110. And do you remember how awkward the walk-in quote of the week was last week? And that is because of the very bop, 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 bop rhythm that J.K. Rowling writes in. This is different. This quote is different. It comes from Creature. And if you are familiar at all with the sort of battles I have had with the ideas of house elves in past editions of this series, I think that you will know why this quote of the week goes a little smoother. Creature would never move anything from its proper place in Master's house, said the elf, then muttered very fast. Mistress would never forgive Creature if the tapestry was thrown out 7 centuries. It's been in the family. Creature must save it. Creature will not let Master and the blood traders and the brats destroy it. Now, I haven't had the chance to actually delve into Creature's speech patterns. I plan on doing that at some point during the journey through this book, but for now I will be quite trite and just leave it at that. Speaking of quite trite, on page 84 we have this quote. "For heaven's sake," screamed Mrs. Weasley, "there was no need. I've had enough of this. Just because you're allowed to use magic now, you don't have to whip out your wands for every little thing." Tell me that quote is on the level. I will not believe you. On page 88, Mrs. Weasley fighting with Sirius, and Sirius's mother being so evil, along with Ron Weasley's mother being so cantankerous. One is forced to wonder if J.K. Rowling has mommy issues. But this entire discussion is a very good example of just what literature is great for. There is no doubt in my mind that every okay, so the argument is over whether or not the kids should be privy to the information. Is that an argument about whether the kids should know or be kept in the dark? Is it an argument about, is knowledge itself dangerous? Can knowledge itself destroy a child, be too dangerous for a child to be able to digest? There's also the question of, Harry seems to be in direct danger. Should he or should he not know about that? Is it safer for him to know about that and be alert? Or is it safer for him to be kept in the dark because he's a child and have adults looking after him? The last question in that series seems to have already been answered when Harry was able to defend himself despite the fact that an adult abandoned ship. But there is no doubt in my mind that every reader during this conversation is taking a side. This is exactly what literature is great for. When we raise questions through literature so that we are forced to answer them ourselves. When we have answered them ourselves, we are forced through recognition of the problem into a thought process from which we derive our own opinions. This is what literature is undoubtedly for when you speak about literature with a capital L. And the argument goes that I've always said an ass can look at Shakespeare and see the literature, but it takes someone really trying to look at, for example, a children's story. Even if you believe that Harry Potter is in itself transcendent and literature, then maybe we go to a real children's book, one of those books that's 30 pages with 10 total words, right? If you can find the literature in that and extrapolate, that's where we're doing real work. But there is no doubt in my mind that everyone is picking a side during that argument, and that's going to color your expectations through the rest of the novel. A little bit later, we hear that Voldemort has a powerful weapon that he did not have last time. One is forced to recognize that Harry is very powerful. He's probably 40 pages away at this point from having turned down one of the big scary monsters, right? From putting it away. Or more than one. Was it? I don't remember at this point. But I think that there were multiple of the big death-looking things. Still, my Harry Potter vocabulary is off. I'm still developing in that field. But one is forced to recognize that Harry is very powerful, and he was not really around the last time Voldemort made some thrust of evil. One is also forced to wonder why it is that any time Voldemort does something particularly wicked or comes into some type of power or influence, Harry's scar hurts. There is a tradition in genre fiction where the hero creates his arch nemesis. For example, the 1989 Batman film. The Joker character was just a henchman type gangster villain until Batman did something, knocked him into a vat of chemicals, and he became the Joker, right? Just off the top of my head, I don't know many instances where the villain creates the protagonist. That would be an interesting... So if the theory going here, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it is awfully strange that Harry's scar hurts every time Voldemort powers up. So if that is placed there by Voldemort, as opposed to the fact... We get the story that it's from his mother, I think, or that his mother protected him, and the scar came as a byproduct of that. At least I think that's how it went so far. I'm sure someone will be going apeshit in the comments, but if the scar was actually put there by Voldemort, because I don't think anyone survived that was there, so no one would know, right? I think the scene was just Harry's mom, Harry's dad, Harry, Voldemort. But if that is a mark from Voldemort that Voldemort later is able to use to try to control Harry in some way, that would be interesting, and I would be willing to look into the bad guy creating the good guy mythos as opposed to the other way around. Sirius's brother is a Death Eater. This will be a bigger plot point than it is right now, and in typical Scooby-Doo fashion, I'm willing to bet that Sirius's brother is the main villain in this novel itself. But here is the crux of the matter for these two chapters, and this is going to be an ironically serious discussion because Fred, George, and Sirius raise a very big question. And Hermione as well, but to a lesser extent because Hermione is a main character and we have many reasons to like her. Fred, George, and Sirius are characters from which we cannot look away. They are characters that we have to focus on, and maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion. This is just my reaction, not everyone's. Also, perhaps, and I'm assuming that later in the series, Sirius becomes a bigger character than he is right now. But to this point, Fred, George, and Sirius are relatively minor characters. But we know them. We enjoy them. Anytime they are on screen, we cannot look away from them. The big question raised by these characters is, what is risk worth? These are characters who take risk. These are characters who assume risk. These are characters to whom risk means not much at all, right? These are characters who are going to do what they're going to do because they're going to do it. And there's some risk involved. There are many, in fact, in your life will tell you that that is the wrong question, what is risk worth? That the correct question in your life is, what is the cost of risk? What does risk cost? You simply have to learn to pity people who ask that question. That is a fundamental misunderstanding of the human experience. If you ever plan to accomplish anything in life, and this is said by a man who is fully able to recognize the fact, I haven't really accomplished much in my 32 years on this planet. But if you plan to accomplish anything in life, you have to be willing to assume the risk. The risk is a big part of that. And this is such a funny phrase in the English language. Assume the risk. This is a barbed phrase, but it has been ground down and castrated by use, by being used so often. It has become cliche. But actually think about the phrase. What does it mean? It means whatever idea it is that I have that I find worthy of pursuit is dangerous. And that's okay. It means that whatever idea I have that I find worthy of pursuit is not guaranteed. And I do not care. Jordan Peterson, and I understand that this is the second straight Harry Potter video with a Jordan Peterson reference, but humor me for a moment. Jordan Peterson, in his less frenetic lectures, talks about the dangers of being creative. And that's something that I take to heart. 98% of creative people fail, and that's being generous. Fail as in fall flat on their face. Personally, were I to dedicate completely to the workforce, were I to drop all creative endeavors I have that require so much of my energy, there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that I could earn six figures. I've met plenty of people who earn six figures a year, and they're not, I'm mid to high six figures, 500,000 and above. I've met people that earn that type of money yearly, their yearly salary. They're not particularly impressive. And I'm sure you've been in that situation too, where if you work, for example, in retail, and someone from the regional level or the national level or the super high ups has come to your place of employment, and you've met them and you've thought, this is that guy? This is what's going on there? I don't see anything special. We've all been there. The rat race is checkers, not chess. The rat race is more guaranteed than chess. But were I to drop all of my creative endeavors, I would spontaneously combust. I've done that. Not spontaneously combust, I've dropped the creative endeavors. And I become a person that is really not pleasant to be around. So what is risk worth? And here's another thing. So I enjoy doing this series because I get to tear apart things that people love. That's one of my favorite things in life. But what I miss about doing this series is that I am not able to interact in the comments section, because I want the comments section to be able to be open to spoilers, because the comment section for these videos I consider to be yours exclusively. However, for those of you who don't know or are not creators, we can get previews of comments that are posted in the comments section. So if you want to interact with me in the comment section to this, which I would enjoy, I would like to get back to that, start your comment with my name, ADRIAN, in caps, and I will know that it is okay to read that comment. Just the very first word in your comment, have it be my name in all caps, so that in the preview I can immediately recognize that and be able to interact. But the question that I have this week: what do you find worth the risk? What do you have in your life that you think, you know what, if I had to live on pittance for the rest of my life, if I had to eat kibbles and bits until I died, but I was able to do X for all of my days, if I had to live in a cabin in the woods without electricity, or, I mean, the minimal amount of electricity if your passion involves electricity. If I had to do that every day for the rest of my life, but I got to do X. What is X for you? For me, it's writing. But that is not the only creative endeavor, and I am willing to assume that probably everyone who's watching this and who has stuck around to this point in the video has something that they would sacrifice the rest of their being for, has something that they would completely dedicate themselves to, simply because of the nature of not only this series, but this channel in general, the things that we do here, the things that we talk about here. I'm assuming that everyone here has something for which they would risk, and I want to know what that is. So that is this episode. Again, you were able to discuss spoilers in the comment section. Just don't start, if you want to interact with me, start the comment with Adrian in caps. So, I look forward to seeing you to the next video in this installment.